my kid goes, hey, this hockey game started with 3 fights. We might want to turn it on. So we flipped it on the TV. And what we ended up seeing was if you like hockey, a fantastic hockey game. But the NHL, forget the game, the way it was put it up. The NHL figured out, Jay, how to get their players to actually care about playing in something like this. You juxtapose it to the NBA All-Star game where they tried to shake it up once again. Guys didn't care. Meanwhile, these guys are dropping gloves because people were booing the anthem. It's great.
It's unbelievable. And you talk about caring, right? My daughter's 11 years old and we had a parents versus kids game at their last practice. And man, she wanted to win. My daughter wanted to beat the parents, right? So I said to her, she has a playoff game tonight. I said, hey, all you got to do is play a little bit like you played against me, trying to kill me out there, and good things will happen. But it is fascinating, right? In the USA, Canada stuff, and especially at this political time in our lives. I mean, and you're going to get that matchup twice, right? Thursday night and TD Garden?
At the Garden, bro. Like, oh, by the way, they jacked up parking prices around the Garden for $75 for that, just to let everybody know. They've already been complaining out there. Sorry.
So while, yes, I'm not a hockey guy, you can be sure I'm a Boston Bruins fan. And I saw a reporter ask Brad Marchand if he played for Team Canada, if he thinks he's going to get booed in the Garden. I mean, to ask a guy like that, that's just a fascinating question. And I think for a guy like Brad Marchand, who may end up playing his whole career in Boston, I think he's going to get booed on Team Canada, perhaps.
Oh, I would. Now, it's interesting because you bring up something that a lot of U.S. hockey fans were very offended that in Montreal, whenever the U.S. anthem was played, there was some booing. Now, it's also Montreal. And if there is one place where they're going to hate American hockey in particular, it's very much going to be there. I don't think the U.S. fans will be as classless, but then again, you never know. And look, if some Canadian is going to get all fired up because they boo the anthem, then I would say find a bunch of people to boo the anthem and let's see another fight at the very beginning of this thing and let the Kachuk brothers go out there and kind of wreak havoc. But it's going to be amazing. The NA, I mean, I rarely say great job NHL, but man, even if it's wrapped in a nationalistic pride, they're out there playing hard. In this championship game, USA -115, Canada -105. Total is 5.5, weighted to the under at -120. The over is +100. I feel like it's too tight to bet, Jay. I would go under on the 5.5 total. I think if anything, you're going to get really good goaltending and really good defense, and then maybe a little burst of goals for a 3-1 victory for the U.S.
I love all of that. I think the under would be the only way I lean. And for Adam Silver and the NBA brass watching this, I mean, I think even when you talk about me not being a hockey guy, I mean, this is going to maybe give me a little momentum into the second part of the regular season in the NHL and even spark some interest there. So I really can't say enough about this. And I think even had you not gotten that Canada-USA game, this was still exciting to me before that even took place. So yeah, kudos to the NHL. And I do think the NBA, it's like less is more. Right. I think a few years ago, I think it was 2020, they went back to that East-West thing. It was just after Kobe had passed, and it was a very competitive game. I think it was a 2-point game, and they played competitively down the stretch. So for me, the NBA, getting back to that old school, I think is really all you got to do. I can understand if the game, the All-Star game itself gets out of hand early, but that All-Star game, I didn't watch much of it, but it seemed like even the players, thanks.
No, total junk. How about if the NBA tries to steal this idea and they maybe can, do USA versus the world. I know they've tried a version of that, but think if you took some of the top European players in the NBA, Doncic, Jokic, Wemby, Giannis, Rudy Gobert, put those guys against the 5 best American players you can roll out there. And now you've at least shaken it up a little bit. And maybe if you're the NBA, you can cobble something together that will end up stealing some eyeballs. I'm very hesitant to mention in the plugs and promos. Of course, you can find Jay on Twitter and Instagram and everywhere at Boston Anik. You can get me everywhere, including YouTube if you're watching us on X or Insta. Follow the YouTube channel at The Real Gresh. That's Gresh. And I have a whirlwind week. Thursday morning, my wife and I are dropping my in-laws off at the airport in Providence, Rhode Island at 5:15. She and I with a dog are then going to drive straight through to Amelia Island, Florida, getting there around midnight.
Wow.
So we're going to do a straight. So Thursday, because Thursday is setup day at my in-laws. They got like the business internet coming, So I got to be there to kind of help out with that. Saturday morning, 7 a.m., we're getting on a plane, coming back home. So Sunday, I am jamming in, ladies and gentlemen, 3 national radio shows in one day on 3 different networks. And I don't know if anyone has ever pulled this off or even tried to. Even my friend Jody McDonald would be like, God damn, kid. So I'm doing 8 to noon on Sirius by myself. Then I'm doing 2 to 6 on Infinity Sports Radio by myself. And then 8 to midnight with someone on ESPN Radio. So I will do from this chair 12 hours in one day on 3 different networks.
I love it.
So I do too, because it's unique and it's different. And, whenever your permanent job goes away, people are like, blah, blah, blah. There's been a lot of people who've been shipped away who are, doing substacks or whatever. Meanwhile, I'm stacking up the shifts in a day and, they can lick my ass. How's that?
Well, whoever's joining you from 8 to midnight, you can be sure it'll be nice to sort of bounce a question or 2 off to someone. But you've told me ad nauseum that doing this by yourself is in your comfort zone, which every time I talk about doing radio by myself, it's scary and not that appealing when I think about it.